Ranking all 32 Mario Kart Wii tracks in just 10 minutes, that gives me under 20 seconds per track, and the timer has already started. I've put over 5,000 hours into this game, so let's finally make this video. Here we go. Mushroom Cup Luigi Circuit. Worst track in the game, F tier, and everyone who votes it online just wants to see people suffer, and we all suffer enough while we play Mario Kart Wii. It's nowhere near as good as the Luigi Circuit tracks in other Mario Kart games, and without question is the most luck-based track, and after 14 years of playing, I can say that this one still terrifies me online, and it always will. Moo Moo Meadows gets D tier, and shouts to the mooing fellas, but unfortunately, they can't save this track on their own. The moles are evil. The side of the blue ramp haunts me in the speedrun attempts, and if you touch the grass, it feels like you may never get out. That's Moo Moo Meadows. Mushroom Gorge is a mess, but I love it. Every time I get target shocked, I scream at Nintendo. Every time I make the gap jump, I remember Mario Kart Wii is fun. Even though the mushroom pads are jank and the track has terrible respawns, the excitement is always there, and I love cheesing wins at the end. A tier for Mushroom Gorge, and that brings us to Toad's Factory. This one gets S tier because Nintendo made a box, added a squiggle, and everybody loved it. Seriously though, the conveyor belts keep everything moving, and the track has a lot of fun tech, plus an exhilarating ending shortcut you can do shroomless, bulldozer section, or as I like to call them, tractors, and it plays well whether you're a first-time racer or someone who is a seasoned vet. Shell Cut Peach Beach gets C tier, and the Cataquacks will go down in history as Nintendo's greatest creation, especially offline mode where they bring out their full beach duck energy. This track is famous for putting item boxes in odd places, and honestly, I wish more tracks did that. Yoshi Falls is F tier. I think some tracks are a little too short like Peach Beach, and I think some tracks are way too short like Yoshi Falls. The second waterfall is useless, the bullet bills are stupid. Sometimes you drift over the zippers and it gives you no boost at all. Ghost Valley 2 gets D tier. I actually like this one barely more than Yoshi Falls since it brings out a lot of excitement, especially with the risk versus reward situation with the last zipper and to go for it or not with the back spam. Besides the track being too short, I wish the item set next to the shortcut registered the players passing you doing the cut before giving you an item. It would make it more worth it. Mario Raceway is A tier. You can never take this track too seriously, and I think that's the beauty of it. You never feel safe until you cross the line on lap 3, and after 2 minutes of pure chaos taking every off-road shortcut imaginable, it's a mixture of excitement and relief at the end just every single time. I never get bored of this track, as stupid as it is. Flower Cup Mario Circuit gets D tier. It's nowhere near my favorite Mario Circuit, but it is night and day better than Luigi Circuit, and even though the layout is a glorified figure 8, I do appreciate the background scenery. I always found it helpful how you get 2 chances to get an item before all of the shortcuts, and the tunnel item set lap 3 is by far the scariest part of the race. Coconut Mall is a legendary course from the Mario Kart franchise in general. From the music to the immense amount of detail both on the track and around it, I'd say it's a perfectly executed idea by Nintendo. Cutting through the Delfino Dream store to do a shortcut, dodging all the cars in the parking lot, it is just pure adrenaline every single time, and it only gets A tier because of the escalators and some of the routes just not having much use. It is a very difficult track, and if I was better at it, I would probably give it S tier. Speaking of S tier tracks, we have DK Summit. I love the theming on this one and the double shortcut, of course, and this is one of the best tracks at showing off all the different trick animations that each character has. It almost feels like a custom track because of how much of it is trickable, and the snowboarding Shy Guys are also an S tier enemy in both style and function. I really hope we get to see this track come back in a future Mario Kart game. I'd say it is the best DK track ever made. Wario's Gold Mine is a front-run Harry Potter roller coaster like track that is extremely fun to drive while you're in first place and always terrifying in the middle, having to avoid not only the other racers in narrow spaces with no railings, but also having to avoid enemies like the cave bats and the mine carts, which are not spin boosting like in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which would be nice. The respawn on the big ramp is also atrocious, and it is what ruins the track for me and keeps it from being A tier overall. Banana Cup! Sherbet Lane gets C tier, and this track has grown on me more and more over the years. Every part of it is exciting, and even the ultra long straightaway into the cave section always has a lot of interaction between the racers due to the terrain, item set, the icy frozen pond on the left. I always liked how the majority of the track you drive is partially off-road, which is something that none of the 31 other tracks have. It makes your speed items like gold mushrooms even more valuable, and the penguins are cute and unpredictable. Very nice, very nice. Shy Guy Beach is a straight flat circle. Seriously, look at the mini-map. This thing was my least favorite Nintendo track for a while, and now I'll give it D tier, I guess. I mean, when Nintendo designed this track, why did they think it would be a good idea to put the first and the last set of items so far away from each other? Also, the fast route at the end skips the last set entirely, so it feels like all of the action happens in 1/3 of the track, and it's a very short track. Never mind, you know what? I'm giving it F tier. I'm changing my rating. I've been hit by the crabs and the cannon way too many times. Delfino Square gets S tier. Easy decision because the section after the town split is one of the best designed track sections of any Mario Kart track ever made by Nintendo. You have so many fun options at all times. The shroomless shortcut, the double shortcut, mud shortcut, item on the dock, crates that give mushrooms, drawbridge. That is at a different height every single lap. I mean, there's so much to take in. It's just a beauty. That middle section is flawless. Only complaint is the same I have with Shy Guy Beach, with the first and the last set of items being too far away from each other. The track was probably my favorite in the DS version, and one of my favorites here as well. Waluigi Stadium gets B tier, absolutely made for Mario Kart Wii, assuming you're using inside drift. There are so many different tech options on this course with all the flip trick ramps. My favorite is probably the part where you trick into the invisible wall, shoot down, get the boost immediately, skip all the airtime, and do the mushroom shortcut. Star Cup Daisy Circuit, the cones, the U-turn, the tunnel where I get Mario Karted, the fabulous staircase shortcut, the cobblestone steps that feel like thicker off-road than quicksand. I hate it all. D tier for Daisy Circuit because I love alliteration. And you know what? I can't deny this course has beautiful scenery, and I thought it was going to be the next Delfino Square back in 2007, and I was very disappointed. Koopa Troopa Cape, gorgeous A tier track with so many interesting ideas, and half the track being a water stream works surprisingly well, giving it a different feel than the rest. It has a nice variety of shortcuts, allowing for plenty of lead changes, and is one of the longest tracks in the game. Also, the zappers might be the most punishing obstacle, but luckily the hitbox isn't too large. One way to make this track better, in my opinion, would be the ability to drive upside down on the tube section fully. This would be so much fun, and you can only kind of do this a little bit while goldening. Maple Treeway. Every part of this track feels difficult, and it always feels like a lot can go wrong at any given moment because it can. This track gets A tier for its creativity, but I can't give it S simply due to the mega jank vibes. The track seriously lacks smoothness on each portion, meaning you really have to understand every bump to avoid disaster. Sometimes I forget Maple Treeway is not a custom track. Grumble Volcano is the most broken track in the game, ultra shortcut aside. It also has the rock hop and the respawn shortcut, and the whole race revolves around that. I love this track when I get triple mushrooms, and I rage at this track when I don't. I still think the rock hop is one of the most satisfying shortcuts to execute in a race, and although this track is S tier for me, I would no longer say it is my favorite track in the game. I think the fire snakes have made it into my top 5 least favorite Mario Kart enemy list, especially the one right in front of the finish line. And one thing I've always loved is how Lakitu will not grab you on the track until you touch the lava. That is why all the craziness is possible. Leaf Cup Desert Hills, one of the most underappreciated tracks in the game. I'll give it C tier. I actually do enjoy driving this one, but I know a lot of people put an F because the ending shortcut is way too broken and the race feels like roulette. Nick always tells me I'm good at this one, and I always tell him he's good at race play, so maybe there's something to these luck tracks. I know one of my strategies is if I'm in the back, I like to chain a star at the trick ramp, and then I have 2 chances to get the item I want to do the ending shortcut, and that is an easy victory because the shortcut is the track, the end. Speaking of shortcut is the track, we have BC3 up next, and BC3 is a right angle paradise. I cannot believe how well it functions in Mario Kart Wii. Like, I mean, in Super Circuit it's fun, but it is S tier in Mario Kart Wii. I mean, the meta with both the shortcuts is a fun race within a race feeling because each shortcut saves so much time and is a totally different way to play the track as opposed to driving it normally. This track has so many item boxes that sometimes you will get over 15 in an online race and it will give you the mushroom glitch. Amazing track, and speaking of amazing tracks, never mind, we have DK Jungle Parkway. At one point I used to say it was my least favorite track, but now it gets a respectable D tier. I still think it is an extremely awkward design to have a slow cannon and then lead it into a sharp left turn that's absolutely horrific for outside drift. This track is harsh in general, slidey 270-degree roundabout, the grass is thick off-road, the mud is mega thick, and it's one of the longest in the game, plus it's one of 2 tracks where you can't execute a trick. Also, don't even get me started on the bridge. GCN Mario Circuit, this track is actually a beta course in Mario Kart DS, but ultimately gets its time to shine here as a retro in Mario Kart Wii. I think the ending can be quite exciting, especially if someone gets piranha'd at the line, and even though it's short and an off-road heavy track, the races feel less RNG dependent than the other 3 Mario themed tracks because the big shortcut is at the beginning of the lap, and there isn't really anything like that afterwards. It's all about dodging the enemies and not missing an item set. Let's switch to the Lightning Cup from Mario Circuit 3, completely flat, no ramps, and I mean, it is what it is. The U-turn really breaks up the track into 2 different sections, and the rest is just riddled with off-road shortcuts. I don't have too much to say about MC3, and I never get too excited when it gets chosen. That's why I'm giving it D tier. One of the more surprising elements, however, is how the bullet bill is utterly overpowered. It takes world record lines, and you have to be looking back or you will get hit by it. Peach Gardens, I'm very excited to see this track in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, even if they did nerf the big shortcut, but I always appreciate this track over the years, and I'm giving it A tier. It has so many routes, almost all of them get used, and the hedge maze, I think it's genius to have the item boxes follow the chomps to incentivize racers to take the different routes all the time, and the The item trap spots are so fun on this track, especially with the flower beds and the hidden banana spots. This track has it all. Peach Gardens, love it. DK Mountain, love it even more. This is definitely one of my best tracks, and I enjoy playing it on outside drift almost as much as inside, which is not usually the case in Mario Kart Wii. It has the longest cannon in the game and one of the biggest intended shortcuts in Mario Kart history. I mean, seriously, if you don't do this shortcut, you just lose. And the bridge at the end is where dreams come to die. The way to make this track better would be to make the wooden and zipper ramps more useful and flipping the bridge 180 degrees so you don't bounce so much. Almost S tier, but not quite as good as DK Summit. N64 Bowser's Castle. It's the longest track and a great place to practice trapping your competitors since every single right angle is a blind spot, so it's a lot of fun if you're in first place. I feel like the ending rail shortcut on this level is one of the most balanced, streamless shortcuts in the game, and I wish more tracks had shortcuts this cool, honestly. You often see large breakaways happen on this one due to the nature of it, and the item set exiting the cannon is so important. Races are won and lost right there on lap 3 very often. Finally, the special cup, the best cup in the game and in the franchise, Dry Ruins. This is my #1 favorite track in the game, and I believe it is the most underrated track in Mario Kart Wii. I cannot believe it has not been made a retro yet. Honestly, Dry Ruins fits Mario Kart Wii's physics perfectly. It has endless tech options, difficult but satisfying streamless shortcuts, and the track allows for so much creativity for the racer. The amount of drivable surface area is a pleasant surprise, and it feels like you're playing a platformer more than a racetrack. I always feel like I have so many options and lines of play, so it never gets boring even after 14 years. Moonview Highway. I would say this one has a reputation of being the most difficult track. Memorizing the car routes is a must because they are so punishing, and since the second half of the track is all boost, makes it impossible to catch up with a speed item. I'll give it B tier, and I always appreciated the difficulty of the beginning part, but there's definitely some missing potential because driving up the hill to hit the one trick ramp on the right is completely useless and just awkward design. One of my favorite things is throwing a green shell into the bomb cars and watching it explode on the other racers. Mwahaha. Bowser's Castle. I cannot believe how good this one is. Inspired in many ways off of the Double Dash version, clearly. I would say this is the second most fun track to drive in the entire game. Easy S tier, and it drives so smooth. The low trick potential, the drift tricks, wheeling on the bowl-shaped road, consecutive clockwise chain drifts up the spiral, the glitch, the trickable lava pillars. I mean, it's all so fun. I can go on about this one forever. The sections with the giant Mecha Bowser can be confusing to new players since you have to go up the half pipes to avoid the fireballs and not drive straight, so when this one inevitably gets added as a retro in a future Mario Kart, I will be not surprised if they made it quite a bit easier. And last, we have Rainbow Road. The first half is incredible with high-risk shortcuts and sticky road, and the second half has the anti-gravity turn and the deceptively sloped edges, making it easy to fall off. The respawns kill the track in general since they're quite unfair, and I enjoy the track, however, due to every single second counting so much. You have to concentrate like crazy because you're always boosting, and I think the track is extremely adrenaline-inducing due to that. It's the only track where karts are better. Fun fact. Anyway, I definitely did not get anywhere near what my goal was on this timer, but hope you enjoyed. Be sure to hit the like button, and I will make a Mario Kart 8 Deluxe tier list video, and subscribe as I upload Mario Kart videos every other day.